Hi, Craig.
How you doing, Gonzalo? It's good to see you.
Amazing. Good to see you. Thanks for this conversation in Conversemos, este cine. Thanks for your time and thanks for your visit here in Chile.
It was so fun to come. I can't believe how cool this is. It's really great.
Tell me something. How does those delicious Chilean tomatoes that Grandpa Phil's talks about?
That's right. We didn't talk about the Chilean tomatoes.
Where did that come from?
That was just, I wrote that scene and it just was the kind of thing Grandpa would say. Like he'd say, and that's why, and he's telling the story about the tomato incident, and it's a fictitious, piece of American history. And he needed to have a really ridiculous reason why he told that story. So he says, and that's why we eat American tomatoes, Arnold, because British tomatoes were small and hard. But he said, he needed a little bit of something more. So I said, but I had one from Chile the other day, very juicy. And I only did that because he needed a punchline. But, it's not like Chilean tomatoes aren't juicy. They're very juicy.
Juicy tomatoes from Chile. Why didn't I think of that? No, the tomato incident.
And is there an episode where Helga, dreams of being a president? Did
Yes.
she get a call from Chile also?
She did. She got a call from Chile. And those are the kind of jokes that just us being stupid. But yeah, that's right.
Tell me, how much of film influence the show has from its beginning?
A lot. When we made the first movie, I actually sat down, Steve Vixton and I wrote that script for the first movie, and I sat down and I made a list of all the films that we tried to quote in that movie. And there were many. And I'm sorry, I don't even know where that list is, but I thought about that. I thought someday when I'm talking about this movie, someone's gonna ask me what movies we referenced, and I'm gonna make a list now. And then of course I lost it. But we're big fans of 70s films. We love Scorsese films like Taxi Driver and, just all of them. But also Coppola's Apocalypse Now. Those are two films that we just loved. And even though they're very adult films, we thought, we'll go ahead and put the quotes in because the jokes were always something that kids could enjoy. And I thought someday when they see the original, they'll go, hey, wait, I saw that first on Hey Arnold.
And Apocalypse Now is quoted visually in Mr. Hume.
That's right.
And also What a Wonderful Life.
That's right. That's right, Mr. Bailey.
What a great movie.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, films as different as It's a Wonderful Life and Apocalypse Now, and they all are just the films we saw growing up.
What are the films that you sense capture the feeling of childhood beside Hey Arnold?
I love The Wizard of Oz. I watched it all through my childhood, and I love it as an adult. I see it as often as I can. Luckily, I live in Los Angeles, where you can go see classic films on the big screen from time to time. Both the Academy Museum, we were talking about that. The Academy Museum shows something as diverse as like that Werner Herzog documentary, and The Wizard of Oz like the next week. And so their love of the entire history of film is one of the reasons that I like to live in Los Angeles, because I could just go. I just saw The Wizard of Oz again, and we were talking about how fun it is to not worry about what's happening anymore. You know it by heart. And so I just like to look into the corners of the screen and see little visual jokes. For example, in the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy arrives and they sing that first song about how she just came from Kansas and landed here. And Dorothy cuts off Glinda the Witch and says, it really wasn't a miracle. What happened was just this. And she just takes off. And if you watch, Glinda looks at her like, hey, this I was singing. And so we always watch Glinda when Dorothy sings. And we think that's why she made her go all the way to Oz and back before just telling her you could click your heels right now and go back to Kansas if you want to, because she's like, fine, go find out yourself.
There's no place like home. There's no place like Hill also. I know you're a great David Lynch fan. Have you seen the documentary Us?
No, I haven't.
Lynch, the influence that the Wizard of Oz has done the filmography.
No,
David
I
Lynch.
haven't. I
I'm
know it
going
was
to
a
send you the
favorite
link.
film, but please, I would love to look at that. I've been thinking
amazing.
about him a lot, of course, because ever since he died, there was a lot of big outpouring of love on the social media, and just a million clips, and also our local cinema. I was telling you about it in the neighborhood next to us. Put together a spontaneous David Lynch festival, so I was able to rewatch, Blue Velvet and Dune even, which we saw, and Kyle MacLachlan came to that. And he was a lovely man.
I recently saw the Straight Story.
Oh yeah.
What a beautiful
Really
film.
good. Very unusual film for him.
Yeah. Very normal.
Yeah, almost too normal, but no, I was glad to see him try his hand at doing something normal for a change.
One of my favorite episodes of A. Arnold, I have many, of course, but one of them is Heat, because how the visuals capture the rising heat. That's one thing, the angles of the camera, and how the temperament of the individuals is rising up,
Through the whole story.
Yeah, and I play that episode, and then I Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Was there any connection that you wish to talk about?
When they have the showdown with the Jolly Ollie Man, that's meant to be a straight up tribute to Do the Right Thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Arnold starts that chant, "No ice cream, no peace," we're in the riot scene from Do the Right Thing. So there you go, another filmmaker, Spike Lee. Another filmmaker that we love to quote.
Because Hillwood has a place and feeling like the Brooklyn in that movie.
Yes, Brooklyn was a big influence. I have relatives that live in Brooklyn, and some very close friends that live there, and they live in Park Slope, a really lovely neighborhood of Brooklyn. The stoops, the blocks of buildings with stoops, that's just a lift straight out of Brooklyn.
Are you a fan of Jim Jarmusch films?
Yeah, I saw his early films. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I remember them very well.
Because I think he captures something about the cotidianas, everyday life things.
Yeah.
And he can find the poetry in that. Do you feel also maybe
that's what we were trying to do. I feel like we were trying to show that things that would be considered possibly ugly, just an urban landscape of kind of warehouses or something, which Edward Hopper does as well. Edward Hopper shows you really kind of blank buildings where you think, well, nothing's going on here, there's no life here. But you look at it and you feel the poetry of how he composed it. And so I was always telling my artists to look at Hopper and be inspired by that. And I know, these filmmakers you're talking about as well. We would talk about a scene from a Scorsese picture and say, see if you can do that. Oh yeah, another Scorsese reference is there's Grandpa tells stories about the old days, and you see the boarding house, but it's like in just open fields. The Age of Innocence, when he shows those mansions that are in what would be, the Upper West Side, but now it's just fields. That really caught my eye when I saw The Age of Innocence. I'm like, I got to do that.
Have you seen the ending of Gangs of New York?
Yes.
That also, builds up to the New York of today.
Yeah, you can tell Scorsese's fascinated by the entire history of New York. So, I go to Scorsese for my New York history.
And if you could direct live action episode of Hey Arnold, what episode would you choose and why?
What a great question. I would probably try to do something that really exploited the neighborhood. So something like Heat would be a really good example. Heat and Snow would be fun to do in live action because they show the extremes of the life in his city, from when it's snowing and that they make the street into an ice rink and kind of turn it into a paradise. That's fun. They've just it's snowing and everyone's mad, and the kids are having fun, but the adults are mad. And then Grandpa has that kind of breakthrough where he realizes he's been too hard on Arnold, and when he hoses down the street and makes an ice rink, that's just one of my happiest moments in the whole history of the show. Just because I saw it and I was like, I didn't board this, someone else drew this, but that they completely got it, like what I was trying to show, you know?
We have talked before about the great contribution to your artistic life and your human life that was So Kiki, Delivery Service, and My Neighbor Totoro from Mr. Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the connections that maybe it has on Hey Arnold. Of course, you know, respect the nature. One can see that on Mighty Pete and also other episodes. And I was thinking about the child gaze, you know, the view from children.
Yeah.
Many shows try to underestimate it, but Miyazaki doesn't underestimate it.
Yeah, exactly. If you were to ask Miyazaki about childhood, he would never talk down to a kid, or he would never underestimate the ability of a child to really do anything and kind of conceive of anything. Totoro is so great because it's really just about a little girl who gets lost, and the whole town goes crazy. They all like go out searching. They think she drowned, and it's so incredibly moving. And all it is the big sister running and running and running and trying to find her. And you know, think about the nature that you see in that sequence. In fact, that's such a great example because there's a shot, I was telling somebody about that just today, where a snail crawls up a blade of grass. And what can I say? This guy took his time. He did whatever he wanted. He wasn't worried about, needs to be faster, or kids aren't going to get this. He just makes his films believing in the ability of kids to understand what he has to say, you know?
How cool is to watch a reference to Hey Arnold in a movie like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Did you catch it?
I really love that.
Did you catch it?
The new, yes, and I really love what is it called? Mutant Mayhem, that's that version?
Yeah, Mayhem Chaos or something like that.
Yeah, it was the latest iteration of the Ninja Turtles, and a brilliant film. It was one of my favorite movies that year. And the design in that movie is just like completely inspiring. When I saw it, I thought, well, now the Ninja Turtles are in good hands. Whatever they do from here, I hope they stick with these people. Woodrow White is the son of an artist that I worked with on Pee-wee's Playhouse, Wayne White, who was one of the designers of Pee-wee's Playhouse. And Woodrow, I think, is an artist to watch. I know he's not young anymore. I don't know how old Woodrow is, but he's a great character designer, and that's why the new Ninja Turtles movie is so fun to watch. It's those incredible characters.
If you were to cast, you know, real-life actors as Arnold,
I don't know. What would I do? That's the hard part. I've actually dreamed that I had a dream where I was walking around in Arnold's house, and I went up into his room, and I was walking around the room, and I was kind of, you know how you wake up, you're like, this must be a dream. And I was like, what am I doing here? And I thought, maybe we're making a live action Hey Arnold, and I'm inspecting the set. But that, I always think about that. I could build the boarding house, I could build the neighborhood, but who's gonna play Arnold? You know? I mean, I guess I'd have to get a regular kid. I don't think I'd want a kid who had a empanada head with his eyes out here. That would be probably a problem.
Hillwood is a character on itself,
Yeah.
right? When we watch movies and we fall in love with cities like, I don't know, Paris in Amélie,
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre Junot,
It's a great example.
Manhattan,
Yeah.
Mr. Woody Allen.
Yeah, where you feel the filmmaker's love for the place.
Yes.
You can tell that Amélie, you know, he just adores Paris.
Yes. And what it's like for you to have created, you know, along with all other talented artists
Sure.
and writers, to have created a place that will last forever. I mean,
I hope so.
For generations and generations that will find their place there. Maybe if they even don't find their place
In real life,
they will always have Hillwood.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that the nostalgia that we're feeling and the kind of the love that we're feeling today from the crowd that came to see the show is their love for something that doesn't really exist. So which is much like their memory of being a kid, is like they're not a kid anymore and they can't really get that back. We can't magically live in the 90s anymore when all that fun animation was happening. but I think that's why they love it, because they can't have it, but it's a made-up place that they can kind of save in their mind and their heart. So it's a good feeling.
Thank you so much, Craig, for this interview in Conversemos de Cine. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks. You know, it's so great to be interviewed by you, because I know you love the work. So, you know, we have an understanding.
Of course. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Chile.
Esta entrevista al genial Craig Bartlett y el mundo de Oye Arnold y sus referencias de película fue realizada en el marco del Festival Internacional de Animación Chile Monos 2025, que es un festival además calificador para los premios Oscar. Esto fue Conversemos de Cine, gentileza de Duoc UC a puertas abiertas, siempre llevando estos contenidos de manera gratuita para toda la comunidad. Espero que lo hayan disfrutado, cabeza de balones.